What's up, guys and gals? Iceman here. Welcome to Meditations. So I've been thinking today, a little bit in the past couple days, just how sus some things are. But in order to achieve this state of ascension, the breaking of this seal is by doing this. Let me help you out. You have to humble yourself for like 1 second, all right? Let me take you there. So imagine you lived like a couple thousand years ago. I mean, it doesn't have to be that far back. Just imagine a couple hundred years ago. No electricity, right? You had like wheels and stuff. Let me look. When was electricity? It was like 1800s, right? Was electricity invented? Let's see what Google says. Electricity has a long history. Discovery developed with the first documentation of electricity dating back to 500 BC. Are you kidding me? Okay. But it really didn't start taking off until mid 1700s, early 1800s. Looks like late 19th century. Electricity was introduced into people's homes. 1878, London set up the world's first electric streetlights, things like that. But you get the picture, right? Imagine living before then. You just had like trees and rocks and nature, the sky, the sun, mountains, and the things within. Maybe you carved some things, you made some log cabins and all that. You're able to forge iron or steel with hot fire. How the hell would you explain what's going on in the coming centuries? How would you explain to someone, be like, hey, yeah, we're going to have these little things in our hands that, like the person who lives way over there, like you have to walk like 5 moon downs to get there. They'll be like, yeah, on this little thing, it's like a stone, and you're going to be able to see them on it and talk to them. They'll be like, they're going to be in the stone. You'll be like, no, they're not going to be in the stone. They're going to be over there still, but they're going to be looking at their stone. And you're going to be able to intercommunicate. It'll be like they're there. They'll be like, what? Be like, yeah, it'll look kind of like, when you look in the water and you see yourself. They'll be like, yeah. It'll look like that. Like the water will be there and they'll be in the water. They'll be like, bullshit. They'll be like, what kind of sorcery is this? What kind of magic is this? Like, what do you mean? How would you do that? They're going to think, well, they're going to use stuff in the mountains to make it. They'd be like, what? Be like, yeah, there's like metals and golds and silvers and palladiums and all this other crap. And they're just going to they're going to use little tiny tools and solder it together with fire and stuff. And eventually, and they're going to make it so where it has this pulsating rhythm or something that you can't see in order for it to connect all over the place. They'll be like, what? And you'll be like, yeah. And it doesn't matter where they are in the world. You'll be able to communicate with them and see them and all that. They're going to be like, no. They're going to be like, no, you're full of shit. There's no way that we could make the biggest invention. It'd be like, look, this is invention. And they're going to show you a spear with a sharp tip on it. They'd be like, this is the best invention of mankind. You see what I'm saying? And then you'll be like, yeah, and they're also going to be these big things made of stone, these stone-made birds, and they're going to fly, and people are going to be inside of them. And they're going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? And then they're going to be like, how the hell did they? And they'll be like, well, they put it all together and they made these things in it that move, and it generates a lot of suction and force, and it makes it go and fly like a bird. And it drinks like water that's from like deep below, that's refined and stuff. They're gonna be like, what the hell? They're gonna be like, got a dragon? You got some flying dragon everybody's gonna be in? But you guys see what I'm saying? I mean, isn't it a bit sus? I mean, maybe it's a prideful thing, the fact that we are willfully ignorant to ignore these things and just accept them as they are, and accept them as reality, and accept them as the inventions of man. Isn't that a sort of manifested pride in man? When we just blindly accept all this stuff because it's before our eyes. We're like, yeah, somebody made it out of shit in the mountains. And, yeah, there's wireless shit everywhere, and we can talk to everybody, and we can do all these weird things with it. Isn't it weird? I mean, aren't those like... Those have got to be the peak of technological advancements right now. The fact that we're interconnected throughout the entire world through these little stones. It's crazy. It sounds like sorcery or something. Like, imagine, I mean, this shit would be complete fantasy in books, written 1,000 years ago, written a couple hundred years ago even. It'd be complete fantasy. And it'd be like, there's no way, that's just fantasy, it's just magic. I mean, is that the peak of it? Let me know in the comments, what do you think is the peak of it? Of technological advancements. And yeah, flying is a pretty big deal, I would say. Flight. Some folks say that they flew way the hell up there, They visited other places, some folks say. I mean, how the fuck did they do that if that's the case? But nonetheless, you see what I'm saying? The concept of flight, yeah, that's pretty impressive. But the little communication through the stones thing, with wireless shit everywhere somehow, they generated all that shit from like rocks and shit. Like, what did they have to work with? They dug through the mountains and dug up like the metals. And they made this shit. Who the hell did this? And then they'll post little articles saying, oh yeah, Nikola Tesla. Yeah, he made this shit. Got a little light bulb going or whatever. And it all sprung forth from there. But you guys see what I'm saying? Humble yourself for a minute, dog. Can you explain to me how that shit works? Oh yeah, man, it's little metals and shit from the mountains, and they rub together in the little device, and it has this thing that energizes it that you have to like charge. And yeah, they made the glass with sand or some shit. And I don't know. I mean, the shit inside rubs together or something, or doesn't? It's solid state. It doesn't really rub together. It just kind of like sinks like this. And there's these little like signals and shit that goes through it, and then you can see somebody else and talk to somebody else on the other side of the world, and look up anything you want, anything you can think of. You can ask it questions and it'll answer you. You can ask it any question. And you could look up anything, any picture or visual of anything that's ever existed to our understanding. And billions and billions and billions of more of this shit's being added to it every single day. Is that how they're going to explain it? I mean, if you humble yourself, man, it should be a little sus. So you're telling me that somebody like us took this shit out of rocks, that made all this shit wireless, and here we are. But the point of the video is this. I mean, from that perspective, it almost seems like there's more going on to this whole thing than what we've been told by the powers and rulers and principalities of this world. There's more going on than what meets the eye. And that it's out of fear that we willfully accept it, because we'll look stupid and ignorant if we're like, how the hell did you do that? Which be like, oh yeah, just somebody a little smarter than me put all this shit together. Just a little bit smarter than me. Not a lot, but yeah, they were a human like me, so I'm the embodiment of that as well. So in some way I can manifest their genius and intellectual supremacy because I'm a part of it. And yeah, we created all this shit. I mean, it just opens up all sorts of things. Seals being broken, perhaps. Portals being opened, no pun intended. Just when you question this, I mean, it almost makes me wonder, on one hand, what if this is stuff from God or something? Like in the same way we can't really explain how we exist in our bodies and our everything else, I guess you could say that that's a greater invention than the phones. The concept that allows for the phones to even exist. Like reality, time, space, all this biological shit. Life forms, sight, hearing, sound, touch, smell. Beauty, ugliness, the light, the darkness, you know what I mean? Who rolled out all this shit? Be like, oh, Iceman, well, it was just rain hitting a rock about 4.5 billion years ago. Like, there wasn't much going on. There was just, in fact, there wasn't anything going on except for like some little rock that, I don't know, space was there. I don't know, it came out of a fucking hole or some shit. Like, what? What do you mean? Like, before existence, you mean? Like, there's some hole or some shit somewhere? You guys see what I'm saying? They'll be like, yes, man, that's the intellectual way to see it, you dumbass. What do you mean? You think there's some mysticism here, some creator, some shit? Like, no, Iceman, you're not educated. Iceman, it was 4.5 billion years ago. There was a little rock, kind of like, it was like a sediment of matter, okay? And it was there. There was just space and shit. It was just forever. And then there was rain coming down and it hit the fucking rock and it spawned a little piece of slime. And the rain kept hitting the fucking rock and the slime it started pulsating. Iceman, you dumbass. That's how you came to be. You sack of shit. Literally. And literally, that's what we are. Iceman. Did you not know this? And the slime, I don't know, there's light and shit or something, and it multiplied, and it pulsated, and then a little fucking frog or some shit crawled out of it. And then a frog popped little arms out eventually. And it died, but then another little frog spawned from it, and the little thing started to swim in water. I don't know, there's just there's just water like this, like a drop. Little frogs and shit started swimming. And, I don't know, they started popping legs out and shit, they started mating. Started seeing and all that, and that's where we are today, man, you dumbass. And then the ones who derived from those damn frogs, they made all this shit, Iceman, a couple hundred years ago. Yeah, they made the stones that you can communicate with somebody else on the other side of the world as we know it. Yeah, they figured out how to fly and metal things. I don't know, they just figured out all this shit. rapidly and suddenly. You see what I'm saying, though? I mean, isn't it just a little sauce? Come on, man. If you humble yourself for just 1 fucking second. You know, the guy was asking me, oh, I said, man, how does, I never really knew that. How do the records work? The LP vinyl records. Like, this is a really simple thing, supposedly, right? I was like, well, you know, the records sound better, kind of, because it's a wave of sound. And the digital stuff, when CDs and electronics, it's a bunch of ones and zeros. And he was like, oh, yeah. It's like, yeah. And the needle on the record, you know, because the record has like, I'm talking about an LP record for music. It has like a bunch of lines on a little needle. I don't know. They sketched the lines in there and they made it sound like the fucking person singing, where you couldn't distinguish the two, one from the other. Like you have some lady sing, the words of the music, the instruments, and like you'd close your eyes and you could hear her do all that. And then you could also have it on the record. Like they get like a needle and they like make these really, really fine lines in there. And then the needle on the thing follows it and it replicates the sound that you just heard. And then they amplify and they put it through speakers and all that with electricity and power. And yeah, that's how it works. They're like, what the fuck? How the hell did you get it to sound like that? How fine-tuned are these lines? How do they do that? You know, does she like sing and the fucking thing is like, I mean, how do you, and how does the thing even replicate all that sound? You see what I'm saying? I'm still concerned, man. Have we blindly accepted this thing? Has the freaking veil been pulled over our eyes that we don't see? And there's something to do with pride and the willingness to deny just the questions and the things that we can't figure out. So we just accept it from those above, the rulers, powers, principalities of this world, who tell us, oh yeah, a couple guys created that. Yeah, Nikola Tesla. And who's the other guys? Who's the other guys who made all that shit? I don't really know. But they're like, yeah, those guys made it. And here we are. But I don't know. I mean, it opens up all sorts of things. Like, in other videos, I go on about how this connects, perhaps, with Jesus. Or with God. Or with a new heaven and new earth. Or with light coming through the darkness. I mean, on one hand, all this stuff, it's like a portal that can either be utilized for good or evil in terms of what it does for us, you know? So that's what I'm saying. It's like we have more responsibility now. We could let our phones and the technology around us be used to our benefit or to our detriment. And most people have it used to their detriment. I mean, maybe this is what's separating the sheep from the goats. We're getting more responsibility, more power. And are we going to use it for good, or are we going to let it unknowingly destroy us from our infinite consumption out of selfishness and pride? I mean, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. I'm going to end this video. It's almost 20 minutes long, so I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Like this video if you will, subscribe to the page, become a patron if you want to support the meditations. Links in the description below, and peace be with you.